Good morning, everyone. My name is Louis Leyva. Thank you for tuning in today. We're going to talk about the Stimulus Act today, with a new one, actually, not the Heroes bill that was introduced by Nancy Pelosi, but today we're going to talk about the CARES Act 2, which the Senate has now rebranded as their own. Now, we did just find out late yesterday that there is going to be a $1,200 stimulus check in there for eligible families. The details of who is eligible is not yet 100% clear. We'll be finding out more about that later on today, hopefully, because they are set to give us the details today. But as we know, these things do get delayed, so expect maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. So we don't know for sure 100% yet, but what we do know is that late yesterday, Larry Kudlow said the check is in there. Also, there are some stimulus programs in there for small businesses and some tax cuts too. So I'm going to break down today the top things that are going to be in this bill that we think are going to be in this bill. Not 100% concrete yet, but the things that are definitely probably going to be in there, probably, right? They're probably going to be in there, and the things that are probably not going to make it. So stay tuned. Okay, so let me just explain this to you. Today, if we do get something from the Senate, it is not going to go straight into law. It is just going to be their version of the negotiation. So as you know, the House of Representatives passed the HEROES Act, which was then introduced to the Senate. Now the Senate has put their spin on it and is going to give it back to the House so they can now make additional revisions, if any at all, which I'm sure there will be. But lawmakers have until August 7th before the next recess. Now, do you think this is going to be done before August 7th? If you think this is going to be done before August 7th, or let's just say if you want this to be done before August 7th, give us a like on this video so we can gauge how many people actually think or want this to be done before August 7th. If you don't think it's going to be done before then just leave it down below and let us know when do you think this will finally be over and done with. I know it's like pulling teeth when you try to get these two parties to see eye to eye, but hopefully they have the American people's best interests at heart. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the pandemic unemployment assistance, which has helped a lot of families get an extra $600 in their pocket on top of the unemployment benefits they're already receiving. Now, a lot of families still haven't even received those money, so make sure that you go through the proper channels to get that, because you will get it retroactively. But recently, Steve Mnuchin has said that we're not going to pay people more money for staying home than they were earning when they were at work. So what they're proposing is possibly paying people 70% of what they were earning before, or maybe just $100 to $200 bonus on top of whatever they're receiving from unemployment. The key is that they don't want to pay people more incentive. They don't want to give them more money than they were getting before, because it's going to de-incentivize them to go back to work or look for a job. But that's a double-edged sword, because if people don't get jobs right away and they have less money to spend, that means the economy will slow down even further, which is also very dangerous. You see, every dollar that someone on unemployment gets actually gets spent. It most likely doesn't get invested. It gets spent, and that turns into $2 into the economy. And when they don't have that, it's going to slow things down. We saw it in the 1990s, and we also saw it in the early 2000s. Now, we don't want a repetition of that this time around, so hopefully one or two things can happen. We get a boost in the economy by maybe finding a cure to the pandemic, or maybe just having a huge incentive for business owners to go out there and hire people. But the problem is there's not a lot of work. There's not a lot of things for them to do. What are you going to pay them to dig ditches and then fill them back up? It really doesn't make sense. So defunding people and not getting them the money they were getting before might just be a bad idea, at least in my opinion. Next is the PPP. So Mitch McConnell has stated that he is a big fan of this, and it will get more funding and get extended. If you're not familiar with the PPP, it basically allows small businesses to qualify for a loan, a 1% interest loan. That is basically the best kind of loan you could have gotten prior to the pandemic. It basically is forgivable if you spend it on payroll, and it does have a few other allowable uses you can use it. And if you don't use it on payroll, you only have to pay it back at a 1% interest over the course of 5 years, which is very, very cheap money. So they're actually looking into extending this even further. If I was a gambling man, I'd probably say it's going to make it into the bill. All right, so now we have the employee retention tax. Now, what this program will serve and what it'll do in essence is basically give employers tax credits for continuing to have people on payroll. So if the employer owes taxes for previous years, or for this upcoming quarter or this year, the employer can actually take that portion that is being basically granted to them and use it against any obligations that that employee may have. So this one I'm sure is a very big one for the Republicans, not so much for the Democrats. I don't think they're going to see a lot of value in that because they don't believe in the trickle down effect. They believe in getting as much money into the people directly as possible. So we're probably going to have to see maybe a little give and take on this one here. Okay, so Senator Rob Portman has introduced an idea. I'm not sure if it's going to make it, but it's worth talking about, which is the return back to work bonus, which would be an extra $450 per week for anyone who goes back to work and looks for a job. So that's actually going to be an incentive for people to go out there, and they'd be earning more money than they would if it just stayed home. So this is not a bad idea, and I think that both sides of the parties can actually agree on this one. But there's also going to have to be some incentive for people who can't find a job. So it can't just be for people with a job, because then you leave the people that are unemployed completely out in the cold. I think there might be some kind of negotiation between this one and the PUA. Our next is a really important one. At least for me, it's a super important one. And that's the rental assistance, because I have people who rent from me, and I feel very bad. I've worked with my tenants, and they haven't been able to keep up with their payments. What they're proposing is that there's going to be some kind of a rental assistance which will help tenants and also help homeowners so they can both stay afloat. I know that it's a very delicate topic for a lot of people, because you have to see things from both perspectives. You know, you have a landlord who probably has a mortgage, who probably has taxes to pay, has maintenance to pay. You know, and then you have tenants who live in the properties who haven't had a job, and they have to pick between feeding their family, paying their rent. So while we're on that topic, I don't know what they're going to do about mortgage forbearances, because I do feel that mortgage forbearances are being treated differently in every lender and every different institution. I think what they need to come out with is a uniform way for banks to deal with forbearances. And not only that, but it also is a really bad, almost I would say as bad as a modification is on your credit. I don't know if you've ever tried this before, but if you've tried to apply for another mortgage, or if you tried to apply for credit and they see that you're in a forbearance, they actually will not grant you credit, believe it or not. So they have to come up with some kind of policy that will allow you to still go out there and use your credit, and I mean literally like use your credit, like let's say in a few months or even next month if you've had a temporary forbearance. But it's starting to become almost like the red flag in the mortgage industry. So hopefully there's some attention put on that, because a lot of people who definitely need it are not taking it out of fear that they will not be able to be eligible for any lending in the future. And people who have taken it didn't know the repercussions. I mean, a lot of banks are automatically signing people up. I know they did to me. I just called in to find out information, and they signed me up. Thankfully, I was able to make my payments throughout that time. But a lot of people who didn't know about this went to go apply for mortgages, and they had credit denied. So hopefully they address that issue. I haven't heard anything about it, but hopefully they do. Okay, so payroll taxes. Payroll taxes, for those of you who don't know, are the taxes that an employer has to pay to have an employee. So you're basically paying taxes to provide employment. So when I first got my first business, I didn't even know what this was. You know, it sounded crazy to me to have a tax for employing people, which is kind of like a punishment. But it's true, it's reality. So for those of you who have gotten their first paycheck ever, you see that there is also deductions on your check, which means that if you're getting, let's say, $10 an hour, your true income is probably $12.50 an hour. But a quarter of your income actually gets taken out and has to be sent out to payroll taxes. So what they're proposing now is that there is going to be a freeze on payroll taxes. That way you can pay your employees more money. I'm not sure if this one is going to make it, because it is kind of long-winded and it's going to take a while for the money to trickle down into the economy. What we need is a quick shot in the arm. In my opinion, I think we need bigger chunks of money in one shot. Even though we are going to get the $1,200, that's great. I do think that that's going to be in there 100%, because that's going to be like the Republicans' bargaining chip. And now they're going to try to get everything else that they want in there too. But we just don't know what's going to happen until we get the news from the Senate, hopefully today. Okay, and as far as the EIDL program goes, I will tell you this much. There are 2 senators right now that have proposed a new bill. It's still in its infancy. It's S 4227. So if you want to look it up, I'm going to leave a link down below where you can actually track the progress of this bill, because when a bill is introduced, as you guys know from the HEROES bill that was introduced months ago, who everyone's been pushing like crazy, has taken this long to even get anywhere. Well, this bill was just introduced on July 20th. So we don't know if this is going to actually happen this year, next year, but we are hopefully that this will happen sooner than later. What this bill is introduced is that it will mandate that the SBA not put any governors or any caps on the $2 million loan limit, and will not restrict people from getting the $10,000 advance that we were all promised in the first CARES Act. So this bill would provide an additional $100 billion for loans and an additional $80 billion for advances. That's not too bad. I think that would pretty much cover everything. Don't expect this money to just go flowing out. It's going to take some time. There's going to be extra measures that the SBA is going to be taking to make sure that they don't give the money to just anyone who's running a farm in an apartment. Now, we don't know how long this is going to take, but if you do want to make sure that you're up to date with this, click the link down below so you can be alerted whenever there's any news around this bill. Or you can simply just subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell, because I will be making videos whenever we do get any concrete information about this. I do think this is a step in the right direction, and I do think we might get more attention around this topic. So if you want to learn more about that and you never heard of the EIDL loan, I'm going to leave a link also right here in this video that you can check out everything you need to know about the EIDL loan. Now, if you're looking to make your own stimulus program, you're looking to put more money in your pocket, we are looking for real estate agents throughout the entire country and a lot of different countries outside of the United States, believe it or not. We're expanding into Canada, the UK, Australia, Latin America. So if you're watching this video, for whatever reason you're watching this from outside the country, God bless you. But if you're watching this video and you want to get into real estate, or you're already in real estate and you want to join the best team around, I am looking for agents. So I'm going to leave a link down below in the description section where we can talk and we can learn more about each other. So thank you guys for watching, and I appreciate you making it all the way to the end of this video. It would mean a lot to me if you give this video a like. Please consider subscribing to the channel and hit that notification bell. And if you want to learn more about stimulus programs, I am going to leave a playlist right here. So thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.